Are you unknowingly blocking your own happiness? Hey guys, it's John sitting here in my living room drinking my last bottom part of my John's Joe coffee. I love fresh roasted coffee. I am on here today to talk to you about blocking your own happiness. Oftentimes in life we tend to block our own happiness. But let's talk about happiness in general first. What is true happiness? We all define happiness by various aspects of life: contentment, the people in our lives, doing something we love for a living. All of these outwardly expressions of what happiness is. But at its core, happiness is a feeling within yourself. And oftentimes we block our own happiness because that feeling seems to be something elusive, something that's out there, unable to be attained because of various other aspects of life that are based in fears and anxieties and stresses. One of the biggest misconceptions about happiness is that it's tied to other people's expectations of us, our material successes, our financial wealth. We start to put those things as marker stones of happiness. The reality of it is you don't achieve happiness because of those things. Happiness is always a choice. I remember there was a young woman on America's Got Talent who was dying of cancer. And she said something very poignant from the stage. She says, "You don't have to wait for things not to be hard to be happy." And you think about that statement. This is a person who's dying of cancer. She's standing on stage singing, but she was so joyful and so peaceful. And, she has since passed away. But she was happy in that moment to be standing on that stage singing and joyful and finding that truth that you don't have to wait till things are not hard to be happy. Happiness is a choice. Happiness is a present moment feeling that you choose to take on. I choose to be happy in this moment. I choose to be joyful in this moment. I'm sure there are times in your life where you've been surrounded by grief of losing a loved one or the loss of a job or something, and yet something suddenly makes you laugh. What was it that made you laugh? Something made you chuckle, something made you smile, something for a brief moment made you happy. And you allowed yourself to go there into that happiness. You allowed yourself to take whatever impetus that was on as something that makes you happy for a brief moment. Happiness is simply a choice. It's a choice of choosing the contentment inside yourself in moments of grief or moments of joy. It still is a choice to choose to be happy. Because I'm also sure you know people who've been to a party and you're at a party and everybody's having a great time and there's one person in the corner of the room who's grumpy, one person who has nothing but negative things to talk about. They're choosing that pathway. They're choosing that outcome, and you're choosing to be happy in this moment. You can also choose to be succumbed into their own fears and anxieties and become a part of their story by supporting their fears and their anxieties instead of helping them find happiness. People will often define themselves by the blocks in their lives. I'm so blocked from this, I'm so blocked from that. Well, nothing can block you without your permission. Nothing can block you without your permission. You have the ability to not give a blockage permission. The thing is the belief in a block is what creates the block. There is nothing that can stop you from getting to your outcome if you so choose. But the belief in blocks themselves are the putting faith in the negative, putting faith in that something is not allowing you to achieve that happiness that you've been working towards. But you don't have to give that block a permission. You don't have to give that block the power to stop you, because all that block is fear. All that block is the fear of not being able to, the fear of not being good enough to get there, the fear of not being financially able to get there. The fear, it's just a block, but the block is not a reality until you make it a reality in your mind. Everything you're looking at is an illusion. It's the substance of the universe that's just waiting for our belief. And a belief in a block will stop you from getting there. Let's talk about some of the signs that you're blocking yourself. The first one is perfectionism. If you're trying to be perfect in an imperfect world, and you're trying to make sure it's perfect, that's less about the perfection itself and more about your need for the perfection, because Anything less, you would be less than. It's actually the cry for love. It's actually wanting to be loved by making things perfect. Perfectionism is the desire to be the best, the top, everything. But as I say, the world is a place of imperfection. It's a place to experience the perfection through imperfection by being here and experiencing things that aren't perfect. And we come to know the perfection of God and love more fully by experiencing the imperfection here. But to strive for that perfection of all things in perfectionism, you forget the fact that perfection is a subjective experience. What's perfect for you might not be perfect for somebody else. What's perfect for that person might not be perfect for you. Perfection is a subjective experience. And so your striving perfectionism is a battle against yourself to find out what's perfect for you. But in reality, your perfection is the fact that it's going to be ever morphing, ever changing, ever moving. And that perfectionism cannot be reached in totality in the present, because in the present, there's always something moving and changing. And so perfectionism is always a moving target. The second thing is, are you constantly comparing yourself to others? You're looking at other people who've got more than you have or seem to be happier than you are. And are you comparing yourself, saying, I wish I was more like them? If I had their resources, I would do this. I really want to be like, Joe Superstar over here, or Susie Superstar over here, or you're constantly comparing yourself to others, not realizing that your entire life, your happiness depends on you being in your own shell, in your own skin. Looking at someone else and saying, when I am like them, I'll be happy. When I have what they have, I'll be happy. Happiness is where you start. Once you start creating happiness within yourself, the outer world starts to express happiness around you. But the second you're in comparison and you're looking at somebody else, you're saying that is what happiness is and I do not have it. That is the belief that you are lacking happiness in the now. So comparing yourself to someone like that literally takes happiness away from you, because you're defining happiness as what they find as happy, as opposed to what you are truly living as happy in your own shell. Another symptom of this striving for happiness is the fear of change. We get very comfortable in our shells, in our environments, in our work, we get very comfortable in managing the fears and anxieties of the systems that we're in, not realizing that sometimes we can transition into something better, something more beautiful, and create something that is absolutely something that will promote our own happiness better. People often tell me they're in a job and they hate their job and they really want to do this other thing, but they can't do this other thing because their job is what keeps the roof over their head and so on and so forth. And I'm like, well, why don't you just choose to joyfully transition and be grateful you have this job as you're transitioning to the new job? Focus on you literally choosing to be happy as you transition into something that you know will make you happier, something that you know you will enjoy more. But getting yourself trapped in these cages of social experience puts you in a situation where you're leaving happiness at arm's reach. And in reality, happiness is here, not out there. So it's a matter of you saying, okay, I am joyfully, happily transitioning into this new experience, and I'm not going to define myself by where I am right now, because I know I am creating something even more happy and shifting into that perspective. Another thing that happens in the striving for happiness is holding on to grudges or resentment of others. We resent them, or we're mad, or we're having a grudge because they did something horrible to us. All of that is in your past. All of that is in your past. And as long as you're still holding a grudge, you're actually living their story, not your own. You're living that experience. Whatever they did, doesn't matter. It's over. It's done. There's nothing that's going to change in that. Have they apologized? Do you have to have an apology to make yourself happy? Then that's your chosen condition against your happiness. They have to apologize. They have to make amends. No, they don't have to do anything. They get to choose whatever they're going to do. Whether they do or don't is not up to you. But you staying attached to what you think they should do and holding a grudge and resentment and all that doesn't affect them. It only affects you. It only hurts you in your happiness. So let go of all of the grudges, all of the resentment. Realize you can put a period at the end of the last chapter and start choosing to be happy in the now. And the more you do that, the more your past gets filled with happiness because you're making present moments of happiness that are becoming part of your past. The last of these symptoms is overthinking. We look at our experience of life and we start to overthink, well, it could be better if I did this, or what if I was doing that? Or we start saying, well, I'm doing this, that, the other thing. And then you say, but I don't think I can because of this. So we start tearing things apart through overthinking. When in reality, happiness is a state of being. It's a choice in the here and now. And the overthinking itself is literally getting in your head and out of your heart, out of your feelings. Happiness is a feeling. Adam and Eve, they ate from the tree of knowledge, they got kicked out of paradise. It's a feeling. You come back to the feeling of God, the feeling of your connection, the feeling of happiness. Right there in that conscious choice of being that happiness, which is a state of love in its form. The reality of it is that when you fully exhale and you relax all your muscles, there's a feeling there. And in that feeling, it feels so good. And in that feeling of good, that's just happiness. It is your natural state. Your natural state is to be on the loving side of the scale. And happiness is on the loving side of the scale. And your natural state, when you exhale and you set down all your fears and anxieties, you feel good, not bad. So happiness is a natural state to be in. Everything else is the unnatural. It's all the stuff of the mind, the sojourns of the mind that keep you separate from feeling that happiness. It's a matter of letting go of those journeys of the mind, the pathways away from yourself, and turn that path back to yourself so you can find that happiness within yourself. Because the reality of it is none of the impetus or stimulus from the outside defines your happiness without your choice of letting it define you. So don't let it define you. Be you to your fullest. Be you to your complete heart's content. And in that being you to your complete heart's content, you will literally create a life of happiness. Because when you are truly your authentic self, when you've released that air, you've come back to that natural state, you're naturally happy. And the more you're naturally happy, the more you will create that into the world around you, and your world will just become more happy. Remember that you always have free will. You have the ability to take a choice and make a choice at any moment of your life. You get to turn your ship in whatever direction or whatever horizon you want to go to. You always have that power. There is nothing fated or destined ahead of you. There's opportunity ahead of you. There's potential ahead of you. But those are all found and created into your experience by your choice. Your choice is your free will. You get to choose. You get to create. And when you come to that space choosing to create beautifully and happily, you'll create a happy environment around you. Until you take that moment to choose to use your free will consciously as opposed to unconsciously or subconsciously, until you do that, you will be subjugated to your fears and your anxieties and your subconscious past belief. Get conscious. You can only be conscious in one moment, and that's the present. Get very conscious here and choose to be happy in the now. And when you do that, you'll find very quickly that you have the ability to create anything in your life through your own free will. So if you're a believer in heaven, would you think heaven would be a happy place? If so, the Bible literally says the kingdom of heaven is within you. You have that ability within yourself to go to that place, that kingdom of heaven within you. And when you go to that kingdom of heaven within you, you have the ability to create anything you want. It all comes back to understanding that happiness is within you at every moment of every day, but you do have to choose it. So how do we identify these moments of blockages that we've chosen to put on ourselves subconsciously or consciously? How do we break free of those? We break free of those by first becoming aware of them. As Yoda said in Star Wars, named must your fears be, before banish them you can. You have to name the blockages. You have to name the fears, the anxieties. You have to recognize that you're in them. The way you recognize them is to come back to the feelings. Does you feel good in this moment? Why aren't you feeling good? And then you go back and you'll find the belief that's based on a fear. If you don't feel good in this moment, there's a fear creating that not feeling good. That feeling of contentment, that feeling of happiness is being kept from you because of some fear, some anxiety that's keeping you out of that. Because fear is the illusion of the lack of that happiness, the lack of that love. And when you break the cycle of those beliefs and you transition it back to the natural state of your happiness, those beliefs become moot and they move out of your experience. But you have to recognize that you're in them, because when you're inside of something, you can't turn it. But the second you recognize it, it now becomes external, and you can hold it in your hand and you can get rid of it. You can drop it and crush it if you want. You can release those fears and stand in this moment and go forward in happiness and joy and love. Those grudges, those resentments, find forgiveness. Forgiveness, FORE-giveness, pre-giveness. Give love first. Say, okay, I'm going to let it go. I know they screwed up. I know they messed up. I know they made me mad. I know all that happened. I'm giving myself love to say, okay, that's theirs, not mine. And I'm going to say, I'm going to release them from that guilt so it gives them a chance to choose something different. And you move on. You don't have to like what they did or like them. But you love yourself and love them enough to let it go. Because if you don't let it go, you're only hurting you, because they're probably not even thinking about it. So you take this moment and forgive. Forgive it. Let it go. Give it love. Okay, I'm done with that. I am now here and I'm moving forward, loving myself enough to let it go. So forgive. People often talk about being, having grateful or gratitude practices. And when I say grateful, yes, be happy for what you have, but be grateful for your free will too. Be grateful for your ability to create too. Be grateful that you have the absolute power to create a happy life around yourself. Be grateful for that happiness. Be preemptively grateful for the happiness. You can't be sad or in fear when you're grateful. Be grateful for the life you're living. Be grateful for the ability to change it at any time, because that gratitude is simply a part of your happiness. People who are very grateful for what they have and grateful for what they're creating are happy people. And when you create that into your life, you're absolutely breaking the blockages of past resentments and grudges, and you're then also showing that you have the power within yourself, and you're empowering yourself in that moment. And that is truly loving yourself. Get very present. Realize that this moment is the pinpoint of creation. In this moment, you can exhale. You can come back to that feeling of relaxation. And in that feeling of relaxation, you will find that you have all the abilities in the world to be happy. But it's a matter of, there's only one moment that you can consciously choose anything. There's only one moment that you have thought, word, and deed to work with. And that one moment is your only present moment. The present moment you're in, your I am moment, not your I will be, not your I was, your I am moment. When you bring yourself to your present moment, say, I am happy. I am creating happiness into my life. Something comes up that seems contrary, say, nope, not doing that. I'm happy. Put yourself back into that happiness state. You have the ability to do it until the happiness becomes the habit. And the more happiness habit you create, the more the world around you shows you happiness. And the people around you show you happiness. And so you start to meet people who really like you because you're happy. And that's really how this works. You be the change you want to see in the world. And happiness is the change that you can create into your world. If you find yourself judgmental or looking at others outwardly in a negative fashion, choose love. Choose kindness. If you choose love and kindness and you start showing them love and kindness, they will show you love and kindness. And guess what that breeds? That breeds happiness. Because now you're doing something that feels good. You're receiving something that feels good. And those two things combined, happiness is the outer result. You will totally have that experience of a happy life when you choose love and kindness over fear and judgment. When you choose love and kindness over fear and judgment, the world becomes a beautiful, loving place that you live in. Be in the world, but not of it. Don't live to the stimulus. Act out of love and compassion. And your life has no choice but to be happy, because you are being happy and you're spreading happy. And so happy is your reality. So ask yourself this: what is the one thing you can do today that will, quote unquote, make you happy. What is the one thing you can do today? I'm going to tell you the one thing that I think you can do today. Choose to be happy. Your world is something that is an outer expression of your inner being. So if you choose to be happy and you say, okay, what would I do that aligns with my happiness? Maybe it's a walk in the park. Maybe it's an ice cream cone. Maybe it's calling your friend you haven't talked to in 20 years. Maybe it's something that would just simply be part of that happiness that you're already being. Choose to be happy and do the things outside of yourself that are part of things that you would do when you were happy. I would love to talk to this person again. I would love to have that ice cream cone. I would love to go walk in the park. I would love to lounge around and watch comedy movies all day today. All of them are allowed. If it makes you happy, right? The key is to realize it doesn't make you happy. You choose to be happy, and those are the outer expressions of your happiness. Happiness is a choice, not an elusive thing that you search for or try to find. Happiness is an internal choice that you make for yourself in this moment to create the outer expression of happiness that you're seeking. But only when you decide to step into that power within yourself do you find the happiness without. And so, my friends, remember this. You have the power to remove any blockages from your happiness because they are your choice as well. Take this today. Take this moment. Step out into the world. Choose in the morning, I am happy. And then go out and do things that are in alignment with your happiness. Go out and do things that you love. Go out and do things that make you feel even more happy because you've chosen the happiness within. This is just an example of your happiness without. Go take today and choose to be happy. And when that choice starts to be realized, your faith in that happiness will grow because now you're starting to see and feel that feeling of happiness around your life. And when that happens, happiness becomes exponential and you become just the simple, happiest person you can be. And that's my thought on this. You guys have a great day and I'll talk to you soon. See ya. Bye.